Morning, everyone. Welcome back to our latest developer AMA. My name is Marty, also known as Alcatraz. I'm the lead designer at Raini Studios, working on our flagship title, The Lords of Light, which is a competitive trading card game coming very soon to the Epic Game Store. How are we doing, everyone? How are we doing today, guys?
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, doing pretty well, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I've got a very large coffee today, so yeah, doing
Nice.
pretty good. But yeah, we'll go around and get everyone to do a quick intro, and then we'll jump into some questions from the community.
Okay, I'm Dres Nieba, community member. I'm in here to just ask your questions to the team and just coordinate all that sort of stuff so they can give you the answers. Thank you.
Cool. I'm Chris, also known as Artkin. I'm one of the co-founders of Rainy Studios.
Yeah, so we'll jump. So I think a couple of announcements we'll get to announce. Yeah, so probably the big news is our next major tournament will be coming up in a few weeks' time. We're just locking down the exact date and time for that, but it will most likely be the first weekend in June. And yeah, as soon as we have the time for that confirmed, we'll push that out on all our socials. But yeah, that will be our next tournament, and we're probably going to actually look at doing them on just actually start locking in that first weekend of the month, and just start running events on that, just so we have a bit more consistent sort of schedule. But yeah, we'll announce that when that's all ready to go. Do need to give a shout out to our friends over at Leonardo AI. So if anyone not aware, Leonardo's a generative AI art platform, doing some pretty awesome stuff over there, and everyone at Rainy Studios is a big fan of the team and their work. And they actually just passed a very historic milestone of 1 million members in their Discord, officially making them in the top 5 largest Discords in the world. And when you actually, where's the list? If you actually look at the list of servers that they've passed on their way to the top 5, it literally is a who's who of digital communities. They passed Genshin Impact, Valorant, Roblox, Apex Legends. There's some blockchains in there, Rocket League, the English language. I never knew. Apparently, we have a Discord server for the English language. Axie Infinity. They've almost doubled the number of members of Axie, both in terms of like active members and total people who have joined. So yeah, just a huge shout out to the team over at Leonardo AI. The other thing is we had some of our team members over at in Barcelona last week for the AVAC Summit. From everything I've heard and some of the photos I've seen, everything went really well. A lot of people got to try out the game. I got a lot of awesome feedback from that, and just as always, just an awesome time to catch up with our friends from Ava Labs and in the gaming on Avalanche community in general. So yeah, no significant announcements out of that one, but yeah, just a really great opportunity for us to show off the game. And yeah, we're very quickly knocking out the number of continents where we've demonstrated the game. I don't believe anyone has played RTLOL yet in Antarctica, but that's definitely on the list of things to do. But yeah, that's probably all the sort of announcements that we sort of have for today. Draz, why don't we just start smashing out some questions?
Sure thing. I think some of the questions have been answered, I suppose, but I suppose they're just asking maybe if you have any more defined sort of dates and things. But we'll start with the first one that's coming through the telegrams and things like that. From George, will there be more art NFTs to mint in the future? We know Arthron's coming, obviously, but and what is to happen with all the previous art NFTs? Will there be any use case? As of now, they are just devaluing art.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So Arthron is the next art-based NFT drop we have planned. We're just speaking to our developers, hoping to do that pretty soon, actually. So probably within the coming weeks. I'll let you know as soon as we've got a date confirmed. Beyond that, next on the list is actually the second edition, which are all cards we've all been playing with in RTLOL for a while. And I mean, the exciting thing there is we've had a discussion. The vast majority of them we're looking at making available for Rainy holders to purchase with rainbows and unicorns in a variety of different ways. So that's going to give a lot of utility to people who have been stacking their points. It's kind of just our way of saying thank you for the early support and to make sure that everyone's getting a good heads up as we go towards full launch, who's been with us since the early days. In terms of pure art NFTs, to be completely honest, we have really shifted our focus more towards the game studio we've evolved into. So we're intending for the vast majority of our drops and our focus to be maintained on NFTs that have utility within one or more games within our ecosystem. With that said, we do have some other art-based NFT drops already prepared and ready to go. It's just not going to be a priority or a focus for us. So whether we do them comes down to how things are tracking with our game more than anything. If the game is really active and we have enough game-based NFT drops to prioritize and focus on, then that's going to be the direction we take. If there's any quiet periods, then we may do a pure art-based NFT drop. The final question in terms of what utility they will have, as we've flagged all along, the intention is to make the infused NFTs, or like if you get a number of NFTs for a particular drop for Arthron or the last couple, I believe we did it for Seven Deadly Sins and for not the card drop, but the NFT art drop and Andy Thomas's Frogs, then they will have utility within the play and earn ecosystem for RTLOL. So you'll be able to deploy them to help you earn more photon. That's the intention there. At this stage, we don't have any plans to give significant utility to the individual NFTs, but we are exploring ways to at least give some options in terms of, like in-game galleries or showcasing with various profile pictures and stuff like that. So we can definitely revisit it in the future, but that's kind of the plan for the short term now.
Okay. Okay, one from Misen here. Will the card market be priced in dollars or photon? I guess there's pros and cons to both, but if it's photon, people might be able to snipe cards for cheap when the price drops, price dips. I suppose that's no different to the way OpenSea works really at the moment, though, is it?
Yeah, at least as far as the things that we're building within the game itself to work with Photon directly. The current plan is that all those the pricing will be based in will be fixed in US dollars, and then we'll basically convert that across to Photon at the time of purchase. There may be some things that we do for a fixed, we may release some items which is, this is 100 Photon, some of that. That would more be done as a potential way of sort of propping up the value in the token. But yeah, primarily the stuff that we're doing with Photon will be like sort of based on a USD conversion.
Okay, yeah, definitely. All right, a question from Bluty Florian. He's just asked a bunch of questions here, but what will be the future of the Rainy token? Is his first question.
Pretty broad. Sure, that's a good question. As we evolve the game studio, we're actually in discussions with a lot of partners now about some possible evolutions for the Rainy token. The intention is still to make Rainy the index or main token for the studio, so it gets some exposure to all of the titles that we produce and is able to benefit from any success we see in the market from any of our games, or more importantly, collectively as a studio. The form by which we do that, there's a couple of discussions with some pretty major partners behind the scenes. Until we get that ironed out, we can't really release all of the details. But I can flag that one of the options we're exploring, since we have such a close partnership with Avalanche, as demonstrated by our attendance at Avalanche Summit last, I think it was 2 weeks ago in Barcelona, is we may potentially evolve the Rainy token into being like, if we launch our own Rainy Studios subnet with our own, I guess, ecosystem of games in an interconnected system, then we have the possibility to make Rainy the primary token that you use to pay for gas in using any of the games in the ecosystem, which is going to drive a lot of utility. So just to give you an idea of, I'm not going to say that that's 100% the path we're going to take, but just to give you an idea of the options and the types of things we're exploring for Rainy, we definitely do want to evolve it beyond its historical utility in just producing rainbows and unicorns to access NFTs, and make it a cornerstone of the ecosystem in whichever format we choose to. Yeah, whatever makes the most sense for the future of Rainy Studios. Rainy token is going to be the primary token that links it all together.
Obviously, using a token for gas on your own subnet, for example, doesn't necessarily make it not a very valuable thing, still, does it? I mean, BNB is a perfect example probably of that.
It really depends on, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really based on the network effect. It depends on how much your chain is being utilized. So if you have a lot of activity on the chain, then it can drive a lot of value to the primary gas token, especially given that the token has a limited fixed supply. It's not unlimited inflationary. I know a lot of the other big tokens don't have a max supply coded in. So, Ethereum, for example, it just moved to proof of stake relatively recently, which theoretically can make it deflationary, but it depends on the activity. Prior to that, for all of its history, it was very inflationary, and it still is in certain times. So one of the benefits we have is that fixed max supply. So if you just go back to your basics of economics, if demand is very high and supply is static or low, then it can really drive a lot of value accrual to the token. Yeah, but that's just one of the points of utility we're looking at implementing for Rainy, in terms of like how the token evolves as we go towards full launch of RTLOL, and yeah, look at producing some more games beyond that.
Excellent. Florian's also asked, how will Rainy generate revenue for the company? How will Rainy Studios, I suppose?
Sure. So that's a good question. I think, yeah, there are a number of ways that can be done. We've already implemented one over our history, which has helped us fund the development costs and get us to where we are today. And that is in the form of NFT drops, particularly card pack drops for RTLOL. Beyond that, given that we are really not just restricting ourselves to the Web3 ecosystem, but focusing heavily on attracting Web2 players, we're looking at a number of ways to build a sustainable economy by which Web2 players who are more playing for the enjoyment of the game and are happy to spend to enhance their experience, or have some little vanity items, bits and pieces there, are able to do so through the app. So that's intended to be one of the primary sources of revenue for Rainy, is just attracting a significant number of free-to-play players from the Web2 space, and then a portion of them, if you look at the statistics for any successful game, and you give them the option to do so, will invariably decide to purchase some of the things we make available to them, which can be a source of revenue for Rainy.
Excellent. Those things that they purchase, would they be NFTs, or they might not necessarily NFTs? I mean, they don't have to know they're NFTs, but they just sort of, would they be an NFT?
Yeah. So in some cases, this is where we've been speaking to Stardust, who offer custodial wallet solutions. where basically if you're just a normal gamer, it's a pretty big ask to, if you're not familiar with crypto, to go and download MetaMask and configure your wallet and save your private key. And if it gets leaked, then you lose all your money, sort of stuff. It can be pretty scary and a big barrier to entry. What Stardust and some other providers do is like really ease that transition by setting up like a custodial wallet solution for Web2 players, where we can give them NFTs, or they can buy NFTs which are held on their behalf in a wallet. And so they can, from their perspective, it's just like a seamless game experience. It's just like going to their inventory or doing anything else. They don't even necessarily need to be made aware that they have an NFT. But then if they do a bit of research and choose to, take more control over their assets, then they have the ability through our UI. They will have the ability through our UI to transfer those NFTs out of the custodial wallet and into a wallet that they fully control. Until then, it's held securely on their behalf, but they never need to worry about, getting a MetaMask wallet or something like that, and going through the whole process of learning crypto. So yeah, I guess that's an indication of how we can give them some NFTs, and then there will be a number of, I guess, purchases which are more for their account and are stored server side. So vanity upgrades and little bits and pieces like that. So it's going to be like a combination is the intention.
Yeah, cool. I think if any project, especially gaming projects, that can do that well, the seamless sort of integration of the game to Web 2 type players, is going to be massively important. Florian, again, how many people are working right now for the project?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because it depends how you look at it. We have an amazing core game development team of developers, art directors, design, bits and pieces there. But then on top of that, we have a huge number of contractors within our network. Just the nature of game production and Web3 companies are that there are periods where you need particular expertise to build something. I know we've been talking about it a lot recently, but a good example of this is the website design. So we're going to be launching RTLOL.com and refreshing Raini.io. So we needed, contractors to help us with the Raini refresh and with the RTLOL design. We have some blockchain developers that are internal, and some that we, I guess, contract to when we're in periods of higher demand for the smart contract programming. So I would say the total number of people who are working on Rainy at the moment, including contractors, is probably around 20. But our core full-time game development team and associated people is probably about half that.
Okay, cool. Obviously, I think you guys have said it in the past, if and when sort of funding and all that sort of thing come in, and once the game starts to flow, and if money starts to come in, the plans, at least in the past, were to ramp those up, obviously as money allows and the budget allows. So that's still a valid thing?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the main thing is, if we get a lot of people playing the game and some revenue coming in, doesn't necessarily have to be from the Web3 side. That's why we're kind of hedging our bets and going for Web2, the gamer base as well. Then 100% we'd look at increasing the team, and then that would just increase the rate at which we can produce a lot of games in like conjunction, like simultaneously with each other rather than sequentially. That would be the main benefit there. Yeah,
for sure. Like what you mentioned, the website, the RTLOL, and I suppose it's just the general website. George asked, when full website remodeling, when could we expect to see those two websites?
So sure. So RTLOL was our first one. We've just it's designed to just be kind of like a very sleek and simple way for new players to like get exposed to the game, get hyped about it, and get straight in and start playing. So that design is pretty much done. We've got a meeting this afternoon to just do a final review and give feedback to the designer of any last changes we want to do. But I would say we should be able to launch that within the next couple of weeks. The Raini site refresh, we wanted to do RTLOL first because we want the two sites to not just look consistent across each between themselves, but also to reference each other really well. So there's going to be like a lot of interlinking there. So for example, the RTLOL website, because we wanted to keep it quite clean and simple and just get people playing the game, then it's relying on the Raini website to explain all of the Web3 elements and, you know, the other games in the ecosystem and bits and pieces there. So we've got, you know, multiple links to the Raini.io website from RTLOL, but we just needed to get the RTLOL design done first. Yeah, so in the meeting this afternoon, we're going to be looking at progressing the Raini refresh, and that'll be, yeah, hopefully if we get the RTLOL site launched within the next couple of weeks, then the Raini site should come shortly after that.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Really good, actually, because obviously that's the first point of contact for a lot of people as they come in. But no, fantastic. When will the, from Florian again, when will the OpenSea confusion be sorted out so that we have all the drops and packs under a corporate identity and people are able to find them easy under the Raini banner?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. I think in terms of like all the NFTs, we weren't made aware of this until we'd already done it. But for some reason, OpenSea, if you airdrop the first NFTs in a collection, it like hides it by default. What we're looking at, which can solve that, is we've been speaking to Layer Zero a bunch. So they have a lot of omni-chain NFT offerings. So I think our next meeting with them is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, Marty. Tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So it's gonna. We're super bullish. I think last AMA we did a couple of weeks ago was just before we had our meeting with them. Had the meeting, they explained everything. We're really keen on getting through that. We're just doing our proper due diligence with our lead blockchain developer, analyzing their contracts and just trying to identify any vulnerabilities. Totally appreciate that Layer Zero is a multi-billion-dollar, well, more than $1 billion organization. But I think, yeah, in crypto, you can never be too safe. So we've just spent the last couple of weeks having our blockchain developer go through and just make sure we're auditing any vulnerabilities and making sure they're addressed. But assuming we can get all that sorted tomorrow, then yeah, we're going to be full steam ahead with integrating with Layer Zero. One of the fringe benefits there is that if we progress that, it should solve all the hidden collections in Raini and allow us to consolidate our NFTs together to make it easier.
That's all right. Awesome. That sounds good. Okay. That's obviously an ongoing sort of thing. Will sort of sort itself out as we go.
Yeah, I mean the really exciting thing there is, sorry, just to add a little bit more. Obviously, it's great that it solves the hidden OpenSea thing, but what we were most excited about is, for anyone who hasn't looked into it, Layer Zero essentially operates a messaging service that can act as a bridge to allow your NFTs to, or even fungible tokens, to be traded on, I think they're up to 30 blockchains now. So all the Ethereum-based ones, and are not like all the big ones like Solana, I think they've just done. So right now, our NFTs are only available on a few chains, and we only have bridges going certain directions between them that we've had to maintain ourselves. With the switch over to Layer Zero, or everyone owning a Raini NFT should be able to trade them at will between 30 chains and counting. They're starting to integrate with a bunch more, so it's just going to give a lot more control to owners of assets, And then, yeah, allow for a lot more accessibility, which should really help us grow. We're not just going to be restricted to the handful of chains that we've invested in and maintaining the bridging service ourselves.
That's excellent. That definitely is sort of important, I suppose, for the future of just crypto in general, is to have that interoperability, I suppose, between the chains. Isn't it so important?
Absolutely.
Yep. Florence just asking, how so far is the feeling in the team? Everybody happy?
Yeah, I mean, we're all in pretty high spirits. I mean, we have a world-class development team. We don't throw that title around lightly. It's taken us a while to get to the point, but yeah, all of our core, like full-time employees, we are amazing at what they do and work really well together. So, everyone's kind of become kind of like friends with each other just because not only are they really good at what they do, but they're also just really good people. So we have a great culture in the core development team for Rainy. We do a kickoff every morning. To be honest, a lot of the conversation today and yesterday has been around the new Zelda game. I don't know if anyone else has picked that up and given it a go. I think a lot of our devs are getting some nostalgia hits,
Yeah.
taking them back to the old school. But yeah, meant to be a good game. But everyone is really passionate about gaming in the core development team. So yeah, and gets on really well. So everyone's in really high spirits, and we're pumped to get these last few bits and pieces rolled out so that we can do the full launch on Epic Game Store.
Yeah, that's awesome. Excellent, guys. SJ Reddy has just asked, I think we are this. Well, this question was asked last time, but when X Photon airdrop for the Rainy stakers and LP holders, as per a very early sort of medium, is there a date on that, or it's just after?
No. So our intention is to get all of the commitments that we've made realized immediately prior to the Photon full launch. So we don't want to be doing it after we've launched the token. So yeah, basically the aim is to get all of that done just before the full launch of the game. So we have been aiming for June. It may be July at this stage, but we're tracking really well. But it's going to be, the intention is just before the full game launch that we'll do the airdrops and the infused NFTs we have to airdrop as well. And also the card pack contest that we ran, we're going to be airdropping the winners, the card packs from the second edition, which will be the drop after Arthron. So Arthron next, then second edition. But yeah, basically in the next couple of months, we should be able to sort all of that out.
One of those things, I suppose, that was mentioned in mediums a while back is something about potentially card packs for holders of gold and chroma type NFTs. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is all for the second edition pack drop.
Okay.
We've reserved an allocation to, as an additional incentive for those who manage to get a gold or chroma. Some card packs will be airdropped there as well.
Sweet. Sounds good. I've got a few of those myself.
Nice one. Which ones do you have?
Oh, mate, I got heaps. I went hard on the golden chroma.
Cool. So the golden chroma, you'll get card packs for the second edition, and you'll also get you'll get like an infused NFT for the full launch Photon. So still some more utility to come.
Yeah, I've got a primordial trichomes chroma.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the three, I suppose, that seem to have a chroma.
You got a chroma. I didn't realize you were one of the. Wow, respect, man.
Yeah. No, it took a lot of doing, but and a bit of money, obviously. But no, I was just addicted to it at the time and got really crazy into the golds and chromas back then.
Good on you, man. Well, you got some more value coming. Just hang tight. Yeah.
No, that's all right. You guys are great. Sebastian asked, when when news about the AVAX Summit last week? So any news about the AVAX Summit? What were all the responses from people and how did the networking go?
Yeah, so for anyone who wasn't aware, JJ or Mindspheres and another member of our extended team attended the AVAX Summit. Fortunately, the other team member, Sammy, he actually lives in Barcelona, so it wasn't a big trek for him. Whereas for JJ, I think it's like 24 hours each way. So it's like a huge commitment for coming from Australia to go to some of these places. America was bad enough, but Barcelona just took it to another level. Aside from the commuting, the feedback we've got, I don't know if you guys have seen the photos or videos, but it was a beautiful setup. I think the Avalanche team really outdid themselves in setting it up, and there was a lot of networking and I think a bunch of drinking at the event. They hosted Rainy on 4 laptops on a gaming station. I believe it was for 7 hours on the Friday. And yeah, a whole bunch of people came and played the game. The feedback, having spoken to JJ about the game, was all really positive. The one thing I will say is that since it was AVAX Summit and not like a GDC or something similar, the main attendees were more Web3 developers, builders, people working in the system. So most of the opportunity is in more potential partnerships than in increasing the number of people playing the game. To get like users, when you're Web2 gaming focused, you really need to do like a consumer focused conference. So we're looking at a few more of them this year, but GDC was a good opportunity there. This is more, I think, useful for solidifying our relationship with Ava Labs, which is already really strong, and then just meeting some other players in the Web3 space that we can partner with. That's actually one of the triggers for how we are now looking at progressing with Layer Zero. Was a representative came to our booth at GDC, and then it just takes a while for these things to come to fruition. So we'll have to wait and see what comes from Avalanche Summit, but that was one of the highlights from GDC. Yeah.
Excellent. Kishan Singh is just asking, I'm not sure, my audio dropped out at the very beginning, but when tournament announcement? He's talking about the Chubby Burst tournament, I imagine. That's the next big one. Did you guys say the date for that at the beginning?
Yeah, so at this stage, it'll be we're locking in the actual time, but it'll be the first weekend in June. And as soon as we have the time, we're just waiting on Blue Mint just to confirm that they've got the time slot we're after available to us. But yeah, as soon as that's confirmed, we'll announce it on our socials and get the ball rolling. And yeah, as I said, we're probably going to look at doing just a larger tournament on the first weekend of every month. And obviously keep in mind, that's in addition to the several tournaments we're running each and every week right now. So if you are enjoying competitive RTLOL, there are obviously a lot of opportunities for that. So yeah, definitely keep your eye on the Blue Mint website. And actually, in the next patch, we're actually rolling out a tournament tracker within the game itself, which should obviously make it much easier to keep track of when upcoming events are, but also would encourage, again, players maybe from a Web2 background who maybe aren't aware of Blue Mint to see them there and jump in and play. So yeah, hopefully that'll be that's coming in the next patch. We'll have that built out and ready to go.
Yeah, I think those little tournaments are fantastic. I mean, I make the ones pretty well at 10 a.m. here. Sometimes the 10 p.m. ones. I think it's a lot better with the BO ones for the early rounds. It makes things go a lot faster. But it's just great to have people to play against regularly. And I think that's I've noticed that when I'm on getting into games, I'm getting a lot more people available to play now, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's great to see that. We keep track of those tournaments from a metagame perspective. So it's interesting to see as these tournaments go on, as people are evolving and changing their decks, and we're seeing new strategies coming through. And obviously, yeah, there's been a few players. I believe Q Pioneer is one of them that have won like several tournaments now. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the players that are having now we have more tournaments running are players who maybe get unlucky in some of our bigger events, but having that sort of success. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see when we hold more of the bigger events again, similar to like the Chubbyverse tournament coming up, how that all stacks up.
Yeah, definitely. Will they be the same sort of format, BO1s in the beginning and BO3s later, or just BO3s all the way through?
It's really going to come down to player numbers. I would love to say we're going to do best of threes the whole way through, because I do believe it rewards the players who invest the time in deck building strategy and practice. Um, but yeah, as we saw obviously with like the 10K like Avalanche Championship, that if we go down that road, it does mean we're most likely gonna have to spread the event out over several weekends, which can be significantly harder for people to commit to just from a logistics point of view. So yeah, we'll sort of look at the numbers we're getting and we'll sort of make the call based on that.
Cool. Just on, I suppose, hosting games and things, Jay, but not that Jay, asked when is host join available in the Mac version?
Yeah, that should be rolling out either the next patch or the patch directly after. There's just it's it's not that we don't want our Mac users to have access to that feature. Obviously, there's some low level networking reasons, like Macs fundamentally send information out differently. That causes some issues there that we're just sort of working through. Um, Unfortunately, it's one of those things that is a relatively low priority for us. Because unfortunately, Mac users just don't represent a huge percentage of our player base. But yeah, it's definitely the ticket's there, and I believe our senior developer who was looking into that issue has a way to fix that for Mac users. We just need to actually get it implemented and get that going through the QA process to make sure that it's a robust fix.
Sure. This question just came up through the Telegram from Weetos 420. Do you guys have a referral system in place to reward the people bringing people into your game? He's just saying if you had one with a link, I could definitely help you out.
I mean, if you want to refer people to the game, the best way to do that would be literally refer people to the game. There's obviously a lot of incentives and rewards we're building up or planning for post full launch. And the more people in the ecosystem, the more we can justify adding rewards and tokens or NFTs into those systems.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose
I
that
think
might be.
also, yeah, we're not. I know a lot of people are sort of eager to see us make some big investments into that space now. But as I've said in a few of the AMAs before, um, if you want an adequate ROI to be sustainable as a game studio, you really need to have the systems in place, not just to give the players a really good first play experience, but to keep them coming back and playing every day, rather than just trying the game, having a good experience, and then because there's no gamification to the actual playing multiple games, then they can check out or just come back for the tournaments. So that's the stuff like the battle pass that we've spoken about before. Once we've got those retention systems in place, then we're going to be a lot more interested in exploring and implementing incentive systems to attract and grow the game. Because there's not much value in getting someone to referring someone to the game, cashing in, they play it once or twice, and then they never log in again. That doesn't really help us over the long term.
Long-term strategy, I think, is the best. Obviously, like you guys have said, you want to be around for the next 10 years doing this sort of thing. So fantastic. Just actually from within the chat here, Marty, Mizen's just asking, will you be able to battle as many times as you want per day and still earn photon? Or will it be capped or maybe diminishing returns if you play heaps? He plays every day, but only a few battles.
Yeah, it's a good question. The way we're approaching that at the moment is we're designing a system where there'll be a mixture of daily, weekly, and like monthly style rewards based on what you do. The idea there being that we would never want to do a system where we stop rewarding you for playing. What we would much rather do is highly incentivize you to play every day or on a more as regular a cadence as a player can, which should allow us to reward players who can play every day, but not to an extent where if you can only play maybe on weekends or once a week or something like that, that you are heavily disadvantaged for doing so. But yeah, keeping in mind that with any sort of reward system such as this, you need to basically build in systems that can't be botted. So there would, like, if you're planning on playing for 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, you may find that your rewards wouldn't scale as well as if you just played for several hours a day or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. George is asking, why don't we have a white paper? He's just saying the first thing investors look for is a white paper, and if they don't see one, they may not bother investing.
The reason for that is mostly because we're kind of in a bit of a transition period now. There's a lot in a state of flux. I mentioned earlier that we're in a lot of discussions with pretty major partners, working out the best path forward for the future of the ecosystem and the Rainy token. It doesn't make sense for us to have a white paper that's based on the historical utility of Rainy and plans when everything is likely to change in a matter of like a month or two. What makes more sense is for us to just focus our energy on locking down the best deals and path forward for the longer term future. In the weeks and couple of months leading up to the full game launch and beyond. And then once we've got that concrete plan bedded down, then 100% we'll produce a white paper. We just want to get to the point where we're not going to be changing everything soon after it's written for us.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense. And certainly once you have that base established, the white paper, I suppose, will lay out the plans going forward as a studio. I mean, a lot of white papers are for projects that don't exist, but obviously Raini's existing and got a game, fantastic game sort of already in place.
And I think the website refresh should help a lot with that. So I totally understand and respect that. Although we have been updating the website with certain things, milestones, making sure we list the Epic Games Store after the Martini guy thing, and just prioritizing, gradually focusing more on the game. We haven't done a full refresh for some time. So given that that's coming soon, I think that's going to help a lot with that first impression. So I'd say, yeah, in terms of the timeframes, we're looking at the RTLOL website very soon, the Rainy website refresh shortly after that, and then after that, we'll be doing the updated white paper with all the new details about the path forward from here.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that. It'd be great. Rainy RTLOL is asking, sir, is the second card drop this month end, or is it being postponed this month end?
So we're probably doing Arthron next, and then the second edition drop thereafter. That's the intention now. So yeah, at this stage, we're looking at June for the drop. I need to speak to a blockchain developer just to. We've actually got all obviously because they've been played in the game for a long time, all the assets ready to go. So there's not a lot of work there. But just because we've been promising Arthron for so long, we want to get that one done. And we just want to make a couple final changes in preparation, given that, as I flagged earlier, the format of the second drop will be different to previous ones, where it's going to be a lot more focused on, giving value back to Rainy holders, and less about, generating sales from Ethereum or BNB or Avalanche. So we just need to make a couple of changes there, since it's likely going to utilize a lot of different systems. We had the raffle system, the auction system, but we're going to do one or two more just to make sure we're getting rewards to all the people who've been supporting us for this long.
Yeah, those drops, like you said, are you're dishing out the rewards for staking and holding golds and all that sort of stuff as well. So there's a bit to prepare, obviously.
Yep.
Junes Neba is asking, are there any plans to increase the maximum deck size?
I can take that one if you like. No.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Do you want to
I
explain why, Marty? Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I can expand on that a little bit. Okay, so is there plans on changing the actual deck size for every single possible deck? No. 40 cards is a deliberate number. It's based around, like, we didn't just come to that number randomly. It's based on our staking system. It's based on the rarity of cards and how many you can have of each card in a particular deck. So there's a lot of, like, if we were to change that to 50, 60, 420, whatever the number happens to be, it would have significant implications on a variety of things. And generally speaking, especially when you're looking at, TCG or just game design in general, you never want to give more casual or beginner players the opportunity to screw themselves. So what do I mean by that? So if you were talking to, say, any top tier TCG player or RTLOL player, and you said you can have a deck, it must be at least 40 cards, but you can make it as big as you want. They're going to build a 40 card deck because, like, the less cards you have, the higher the odds of you drawing the cards you need at any particular situation. If you're running like a mono green like gluttony deck and you have 41 cards instead of 40, there's a very small statistical difference in terms of how likely you are to draw a gluttony compared to any other card. So you're actually making your deck worse by doing so. If you let casual players or players who maybe are new or not as familiar with TCGs or RTLOL specifically build bigger decks, then yeah, you'll get some players who are like, oh, I'm going to put all 100 cards I own into one big deck, and then they don't understand why they're losing every game, because they're just, like, they're not going to be able to draw the cards they need at any particular given moment. Is there a world where we potentially do a new game mode? Is there a world where we potentially do maybe a card that enables you to have a deck that is not 40 cards specifically? Sure. But something like that would be the exception, not the rule, basically.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. Definitely. Like you say, I mean, hard enough to get a card out of 40 in the deck. Sometimes you're hanging out for a particular card and it just doesn't come. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, I guess the best way to think of it is we're keeping you to 40 cards, and it may not feel like it, but the designers are doing you a favor by doing so. But yeah, if you're in a situation where you're struggling to get a deck down to 40 cards, then yeah, maybe build two different decks very similar, and swap some cards out in each of the decks and do some tests, play 10 games with each and see which one happens to win more. Or just as you're playing with those decks, just actually stop every turn and look at your hand and go, right, what cards in my hand am I really happier here? And what cards, do I all of a sudden just wish weren't here? If you're running a deck, if you're trying to get down to 40 cards and you've got maybe, Red Swordsman in your deck, is that card really, is that a card that, is maybe as valuable as, the Red Wizard you have in your deck? Or, maybe just, an extra copy of Forge Imp or something like that. So yeah. Yeah, like, your goal should always be to try and give yourself the best chance to draw the card you need to win at any particular moment, and having less cards is a way to do so. I guess just quickly to touch on this, just because this is like the one design question I get this week. Everything else has been very heavily Web3. To look at it from the other side of, all right, why don't we decrease the maximum deck size to a smaller number? Because the way we've set up our staking mechanic, we pretty much assume in an average game that 11 of the 40 cards you have, you're not actually going to get to play. I know there's a lot of situations, a lot of decks that don't stake real cards. They'll use like recharge cards or or things like that. But as a general rule of thumb, if we assume like a quarter of your deck you'll never actually play, then you're actually working with much closer to a 30 card deck. If you look at statistics, taking mulligans into account, if you look at, say, how many cards a player has seen by turn 10, they've probably seen roughly about 20 at that point, maybe actually a bit more with staking. It's probably close to like 25. And then if you look at cards, in any rarity slot outside of the legendaries and mythics, statistically by turn 10, you would have seen at least one copy of every card. So, like I said, as I said, these numbers aren't picked randomly. It is mathematically designed to give you the most consistency while still having, as every good trading card game should have, an element of input randomness, based on the order of the cards as they come out of the deck. Basically, it's one of the reasons why TCGs, at least for myself personally, will always be a more fascinating experience than, say, chess. Um, a game of 100% known information regarding like the actual game state, because you're always going to have that element where skilled players will look at the cards their opponent are playing and go, oh, they're playing a lot of green, you know, I haven't seen them play a gluttony yet, but maybe I need to start trying to play around that. But again, the benefit of RNG is that, maybe they haven't drawn at that game. Like it's not a solved game, and it's not going to be a game where the most skillful player will win 100% of the time. And there's a lot of benefits from a game theory and game design perspective as to why that's a good thing to have in any live service game.
Awesome, mate. Thank you for that. That's very informative, very interesting. I've only got really one question left, and this was just, I left it for last. This one from Florian, just from the Telegram. He's just asking, what will be the future of Raini in the crypto world beside the clear trajectory into the normal gaming world?
Yeah. So, I mean, the crypto elements are obviously mostly centered around, control and true ownership. So I feel like if you strip away a lot of the hype and the noise in the Web3 space, some of the big benefits that it provides to the traditional gaming space is it gives the owners of NFTs or tokens full control over them. We've seen plenty of times in the past that games will shut down or shift to a newer version, as was the case with MTGO going to MTGA, and I think Pokemon did that recently. And then making cards that you had obsolete or reducing your ability to trade them or removing it completely. I think one of the really cool things about Web3 is it removes the option for a game developer to do that. Obviously, if a game studio is just trying to maximize profitability in the short term, there's a clear incentive for them to remove the ability for you to trade or sell your own assets because they just want you to buy everything from them directly. But I think that it's a much fairer system to allow the community members to do pretty much what they want with the asset that they've purchased, whether they want to trade it or sell it. So we're leaning very heavily into that by revolving our gaming system around control and true ownership of the assets in the ecosystem. So the intention is for all of our games that we launch under Raini Studios, starting with RTLOL, to basically have an end game that revolves around NFTs and fungible tokens that, in some cases, that allows the purchaser to do whatever they want with those assets. And by the same token, we are not going to force people to do so. I think that's kind of the sweet spot that we'll see more and more Web3 games move towards. And we're already seeing some of them adopt it, which is, if you really want to reach a critical mass of gamers, then you never want to force them to buy an NFT or set up a wallet, but you always want to give them that option. That's kind of the philosophy we're adopting going forward.
Excellent, guys. That's it for the questions that I can see. There's nothing else. So, yeah.
Cool.
Nice one.
Done.
All right.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone has a good week. Good luck to everyone participating in the Blue Mint tournaments this week. I can't remember what's the name. I can't like they come up with cool names from every week. I can't remember what this week's names are.
Sinister something, I think.
Sinister
Bring
Smackdown.
it up.
Yeah, the next one
Love
is
the alliteration.
yep. The next one is I love their website. It gives you like a nice countdown like thing. So in 1 day and 9 hours is the next one. So
Yep.
that'll be tomorrow evening for the Australians. But yeah, good luck for everyone participating in those, and yeah, we'll catch you at our next AMA. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.